The studio of The Late Show with Stephen Colbert hummed with electric anticipation as the house band's upbeat riff faded, and the spotlight zeroed in on the stage. Representative Jasmine Crockett, the Texas Congresswoman whose fiery rhetoric had made her a national figure, strode out with a presence that commanded every eye. Her tailored blazer was sharp, her gaze sharper, and the audience, a vibrant mix of loyal fans, political junkies, and curious passers-by, erupted in applause. They knew Crockett's reputation, a fearless advocate who turned congressional hearings into viral spectacles with her unyielding resolve. Tonight, she was here to bring that same energy to late-night television. Stephen Colbert, the host whose wit could disarm or dismantle, greeted her with his trademark grin, his eyes glinting with the mischief of a man who thrived on live TV's unpredictability. "Jasmine, you've been shaking up Congress with that passion of yours," he said, his voice smooth but teasing. "Let's keep the studio in one piece, okay?" The quip, delivered with a playful lean, drew laughs, but there was an undercurrent, a spark that hinted at the high stakes of this moment. Crockett's smile was a blade, honed and deliberate. "One piece? I'm here for truth, Stephen," she replied, her tone steady, resonant. "Let's see if your stage can handle it." The audience stirred, some chuckling, others leaning forward, sensing the weight behind her words. The exchange, meant to be a light opener for a 5-minute segment, crackled with tension, setting the stage for a confrontation that would ignite the studio, flood social media, and leave the nation buzzing. What unfolded wasn't just a talk show appearance gone awry, it was a clash of titans, Colbert's comedic empire, built on sharp satire and careful control, colliding with Crockett's unrelenting drive to expose what she saw as gaps in the public discourse. The segment, pegged to Crockett's rising star in Democratic politics, was supposed to be a breezy chat about her advocacy. Instead, it spiraled into a spectacle that no one, not the audience, not the crew, not even Colbert, could have predicted. The fuse lit when Crockett, undeterred by Colbert's opening jab, leaned into the desk, her hands gesturing with precision. "Truth isn't a punchline, Stephen," she said, her voice cutting through the laughter like a siren. "Your monologues? They're clever, but they skate past the real issues, policies that crush people every day." The audience gasped, some clapping fiercely, others exchanging glances as Colbert's grin faltered, his eyebrows arching in surprise. "Skate past? Jasmine, I'm out here shining a light," he shot back, his tone still playful but with a defensive edge. "You're coming for my whole show, that's a bold play." The crowd split, some laughing, others murmuring, phones already out, capturing the moment as stagehands hovered in the wings, their headsets buzzing with nervous chatter. Bold was too soft a word for what Crockett was doing. She wasn't just challenging Colbert, she was rewriting the rules of his stage. Crockett's eyes locked on his, unyielding. "Bold? I'm calling out what's buried," she declared, her voice rising with conviction. "Families drowning in medical debt, workers stuck in dead-end wages, communities fighting voter suppression, your jokes don't touch that." The studio pulsed, the audience caught between awe and unease, some cheering, "Go Jasmine," others shifting uncomfortably as Colbert tapped his pen on the desk, his comedic mask slipping. "Jasmine, I'm shining a light in my way," he said, his voice firmer now. "This is a comedy show, not a soapbox." The retort drew laughs, but Crockett wasn't here to play along. "Your way. Your light's missing half the room," she countered, her words a gauntlet thrown down. The crowd roared, some standing, others filming as the segment, meant to be a quick hit, veered into chaos. Stagehands exchanged glances, their hands twitching, sensing the show slipping from its polished groove. What turned the moment into a full-blown firestorm was Crockett's refusal to bend to the format. She reached into her blazer, pulling out a small stack of papers, notes, she later explained, compiled from constituent stories. "These are real people, Stephen," she said, holding them up, her voice trembling with urgency. "Their pain doesn't fit in a monologue." The audience erupted, some chanting her name, others gasping as Colbert's expression shifted, his charm strained. "Jasmine, you're derailing the segment," he said, his voice tight, signaling to the crew. "We've got a show to run." The words were a spark to gasoline. Crockett's eyes flashed. "Derailing?" "I'm amplifying voices you dodge," she shot back, her passion spilling over. The crowd was electric, some rushing to the aisles, phones aloft, as security began to move in, their presence a stark signal that the segment was unraveling. The tension was palpable, the studio a cauldron of raw energy, every word pushing the moment closer to a breaking point. The ejection came swiftly, decisively. Colbert, his composure fraying, raised a hand. "Jasmine, you've made your point, but it's time to go," he said, his voice carrying an authority rarely heard on his stage. The audience stirred, some booing, others cheering, as two security guards approached, their faces neutral but firm. Crockett stood, her posture unbroken, her gaze locked on Colbert. "Time to go?" "The truth doesn't exit that easy," she said, her voice a defiant vow as she was escorted off. The crowd erupted, some shouting, "Let her speak." Others filming as the show cut to commercial, the studio lights dimming but the energy still blazing. Outside, the scene only intensified. Crockett, undeterred, faced a swarm of reporters at the studio's exit, her resolve as fierce as ever. "Dodge me? The public deserves more than punchlines," she declared, her voice cutting through the night air. She held up her notes, detailing the issues she'd tried to raise: healthcare access, economic disparities, voting rights, claims she said Colbert's humor glossed over. The crowd outside, spilling onto the sidewalk, was a mix of supporters and skeptics, some chanting "Jasmine," others murmuring about the disruption. A stagehand, speaking anonymously, tried to quell the chaos. "Ms. Crockett broke the format," he said, his voice cautious. "We're back on track now." But the statement only fanned the flames. "On track? Her points are real," a bystander shouted, drawing cheers. Crockett seized the moment, her eyes gleaming. "Real? I'm their voice, not chaos," she said, her words a clarion call. The crowd surged, some waving signs scrawled with "Truth over jokes," others live streaming as X lit up with posts. Crockett just shook Colbert's stage. The clash was no longer confined to the studio, it was a wildfire spreading across platforms, trending globally within minutes. A reporter, her voice sharp, pressed Crockett. "You challenged a late-night giant, Ms. Crockett. That's a gamble." Crockett's response was instant. "Gamble? I'm their justice, not his prop," she said, her fire undimmed. The confrontation escalated when Crockett, undaunted by the pushback, took her stand to a new level. She pulled out a tablet, its screen glowing with a pre-recorded video, a compilation of constituent testimonies, voices from her district sharing raw, unfiltered stories of hardship tied to the policies she'd tried to highlight. "These are their truths," she said, her voice trembling with conviction as she played the video for the crowd. A single mother spoke of losing healthcare coverage, a factory worker described wages that couldn't meet rent, a young voter detailed fears of ballot access. The crowd fell silent, some sobbing, others cheering as the voices filled the air. The show spokesperson, caught off guard, stammered. "Ms. Crockett, this is outside our format," they said, their voice a mix of shock and urgency. But Crockett was relentless. "Format? Their pain demands accountability," she declared, the tablet still raised, the testimonies looping. The crowd erupted, some chanting, "Jasmine. Jasmine," others waving phones, capturing the moment as X posts exploded. Crockett drops a bombshell outside Colbert's studio. The spokesperson's composure cracked. "You've made your point, Ms. Crockett," they said, their voice softer, reflective. "We're listening." The admission was seismic, a rare concession from a show built on control. The crowd surged, some shouting, "She's winning," others whispering, "She's fearless." Crockett stood taller, her resolve unshaken. Listening? Their hope demands action, not dismissal, she said, her words a blend of defiance and empathy. The spokesperson nodded, their gaze steady but humbled. Your actions are bold, Ms. Crockett. This moment's noted, they said, their voice carrying respect. The crowd roared, some filming, others weeping as clips hit X, racking up millions of views. Crockett's move is live, unstoppable. The scene was a cauldron of raw emotion, the night hurtling toward a climax that would echo far beyond the studio. What made Crockett stand a cultural spark wasn't just her ejection or her defiance but the sincerity of her action. She'd turned a talk show misstep into a platform for the voiceless, her tablet a megaphone for those her notes represented. The spokesperson, gripping their own notes, met her gaze. You've disrupted the narrative, Ms. Crockett, they said, their voice a mix of awe and concession. Crockett's response was final. Disrupted? I've amplified their trust, she said, her words a vow as the crowd chanted, Jasmine's fire. The spokesperson exhaled, their stance softening. You've spoken. We're reflecting, they said, their words sealing the moment. The clash teetered on resolution, the studio's authority bending under Crockett's resolve. But the story didn't end there. Crockett, her energy unrelenting, turned to the crowd, her voice soaring. Their trust fuels my fight, she said, her tablet still in hand, the testimonies now a rallying cry. This isn't about one show, it's about their lives. The crowd roared, some rushing closer, others live streaming as reporters pressed in, their questions a cacophony. Ms. Crockett, are you targeting Colbert's platform? One asked. Targeting? I'm amplifying truth, she shot back, her eyes blazing. His stage can't bury that. The fallout was immediate, seismic. X erupted with threads, Crockett shakes late night, trending globally, her video compilation lauded as a masterstroke. Her tweet, posted later, Voices break silence, pulled nearly 1 million likes, replies flooding with memes, testimonies topple jokes. TikTok and Instagram amplified the saga, clips of her tablet gesture looping endlessly. Crockett's advocacy cemented her as a force, her influence spiking while Colbert's silence fueled speculation. Would he address it? Some bet he'd lean into humor, others argued Crockett had stolen the spotlight. The ripple effects were undeniable. Analysts called it a shift, talk shows might court bolder guests or tighten formats, while the public split, half cheered Crockett's expose, half questioned if she'd gone too far. Her brand soared, her resolve a beacon, while Colbert's next move loomed, a spark waiting to ignite. Back outside the studio, the night pulsed with raw energy. Crockett stepped back, whispering to an aide, I stood for them, as reporters swarmed, their questions drowned out by cheers. Show officials retreated, their voices hushed. The matters noted, one said, reflective, as security cleared the area. The crowd lingered, some still filming, others chanting, truth served. The saga wasn't over, it was a fuse for what's next. Crockett's stand had redefined the boundaries of late-night TV, turning a single segment into a cultural flashpoint. Her tablet, her notes, her voice, they'd become symbols of a fight bigger than one show. As the crowd dispersed, one voice rang out, Jasmine's just getting started. And she was. The nation watched, waited, and debated, the spark of this night poised to ignite a new chapter.